Discussion on GST with me, your host Kampan Chinnam. In the studios with us is Additional Commissioner of Service Tax Shri.Anand Kumar. He is now the GST Goods and Services Tax Additional Commissioner, as is rightly being said. And before we move on to the discussion, let me brief you a little bit about the GST. It has been launched on 30th of June midnight in the Central Hall of Parliament amid much fanfare, and the GST was introduced following the passage of 122nd Constitution Amendment Bill. GST is governed by a GST Council, and its chairman is the Finance Minister, and now he is Arun Jaitley. Under this GST, goods and services are taxed at rates 0%, that is nothing, and 5%, and 12%, and 18%. There is a special rate of 0.25% on rough, precious and semi-precious stones, and 3% on gold. In addition, a cess of 15% or other rates on top of 28% GST applies on few items like aerated drinks. There are the cool drinks, soft drinks and all these, luxury cars and tobacco products. And launching on the midnight of June the 30th, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said it is a good and simple tax. Let us ask the additional commissioner of this goods and services tax, is it really that good and simple? Let's ask this additional commissioner. So, additional commissioner Anand, welcome to the show. And tell us the need of GST at a time when markets are struggling to recover from the demonetization.
100%, this is good and certainly simple tax. As you just mentioned, from the Central Hall of the Parliament, when this goods and services tax has been launched, by the Honorable Prime Minister, through the gracious hands of the Honorable the then Finance Minister, the Honorable President of India, at one stroke, 17 indirect taxes have disappeared.
Right.
Which are these taxes? Some of you are aware, some of you might not be aware.
So what are those taxes? I mean, those 17 taxes that you are saying that they are disappeared.
Yeah, 1944, during British Raj, 1944 Central Excise and Salt Act, came into force.
Right.
And which has been in force till June 30th, 2017, that is nearly 73 years old.
Right.
And service tax, which was being collected since 1994
Right.
through the Finance Act, that is 16 plus 7, 23 years old, vanished. And you have commercial taxes, that VAT,
Right.
that also has disappeared, and entry tax, luxury tax, octroi, lottery tax. Like each state was having plethora of taxes, in fact.
Yeah, and talk on that octroi tax. What is this? I mean, what is this octroi tax is all about, the Commissioner? Yeah,
octroi is nothing but is another form of indirect tax which was being levied by the local bodies. Like, take example of Secunderabad Cantonment Board.
Right.
So, whichever goods that have been entering through Secunderabad Cant,
right,
they were collecting the octroi, which again, become a history. So, as I started saying that 17 taxes, indirect taxes have disappeared, and then, one nation, one tax,
right,
one market. Now, all over India, right from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, you have this wonderful, good and simple tax, that's goods and service tax, constitutionally speaking.
Right.
And any product you take, for example, the TV, all over India, right from Kanyakumari to Jammu Kashmir, West Bengal to Punjab, there's only one, rate. I think it is 28% as of now. So, apart from that, digital India. Now, once you come under the purview of GST, you can sit in the comfort of your home, open your laptop and apply for registration.
Was it not the same before this GST?
Yeah, it was, but there were a lot of technical glitches. The system was not able to cope with the pressure, load, whatever you may call. Even states, each state is not, as you know, in India. India is a federal country, 29 states,
Right.
and some of them are in the region of northeast. They have their own problems. So it's it was very difficult for the for a small time businessman, to get registered through online, and then they have their own issues. So this digital India, which I was talking about now, we have a robust system in place, which is known as GSTN, Goods and Service Tax Network, and our vendor is through the system of selection. We have chosen Infosys as our
Right.
front end operations, and for back end operations for the offices, Wipro is our service provider.
Well, on that note, let me ask you this question, because before they could implement this one, they were having some technical glitches which were being faced by this Infosys. And what were they? I mean, have they been modified now? I mean, are they facing still any problems now when this GST is on?
As you know, any system you introduce, initially you will have some teething problems. In fact, we have started operating this almost 2 years back, and now the system is in place. No issues whatsoever, no technical glitches. Yeah, if your internet speed is slow, maybe it would take time.
Okay.
But otherwise, as far as GSTN is concerned, in fact, one of my batchmates from Indian Revenue Service is currently Additional Commissioner. He is one of the senior officials there. So he told me, Anand, I was asking, I was also like any one of you having apprehension whether GST will come through by July 1st. He told me, Anand, we are ready.
Right.
That's what Honorable Finance Minister said. First time in the country, the government is ready. But perhaps the trade and industry is not ready. This is how he has put it.
That is true. Well, I mean, so there are no technical glitches at the moment.
Absolutely
I mean,
not.
Everything is going smooth. But tell us, I mean, how is it doing in this newly bifurcated state of Telangana? In which state you are the additional commissioner on this GST?
Absolutely, from GST Bhavan, that's next to Aika Bhavan, Bashir Bagh, we have started operating from 1st July. Nara Brahmani Garu was invited as one of the guests of honors, and Mrs. Sangeeta Reddy was one of the another guest of honors. And we have launched, in fact, rather inaugurated 4 GST commissionerates, and I represent the Hyderabad GST Commissionerate.
Right.
Now, the GST Act, the tax, whatever revenue which we would be earning, government of India as well as the state government. The Honorable Chief Minister has announced a few days back, after taking inputs from his officers and perhaps all the stakeholders, that 3,000 crores would be the additional revenue that would be generated through this GST, and the impact would be felt perhaps down the line, maximum 3 months. That's what they have put it across.
Okay, so it is functioning all right.
Absolutely.
In the under your this purview, under your leadership over here at the Hyderabad.
Yes.
So before we move on to the other questions, further questions, let me update our listener viewers. Viewers, if you want to ask any question, this additional Commissioner P. Anand Kumar, you may call on our toll-free our number, that is 040-477-99915. That is 040-477-99915. So you can call us and ask your question directly. This GST Additional Commissioner P. Anand Kumar. So we were talking about this, how this GST is doing in Telangana, right, Commissioner? So now let me ask you this question. What impact has it on the state revenues? Because there are apprehensions some of the states might lose its revenues because of implementing this particular GST. And especially this particular state, Telangana, is still young and it is still to make its impact. And of course, there are also other small states and new states, but not as new as this Telangana. So what is its impact, and does it, is real estate losing some revenues because of this GST, or has the government made some provisions for it?
Yeah, this is a very pertinent question. In fact, it took 15 years of efforts, massive. The committee of the finance ministers of all the states, headed by, if I remember the name correctly, Ashim Das Gupta ji. He was the finance minister of West Bengal. Opposition state ruled. Government well thought out. More to make the opposition ruled state the finance minister as head of that committee, and everyone, whatever apprehensions they had, the government one after the other, over a period of time tried to accommodate and resolve.
Right.
After which, through the Constitutional Amendment Act, which you have mentioned to begin with, a provision has been made. Whichever state loses revenue on account of GST, they would be compensated. Not for just 1 year, it's for 5 years. That's the commitment government of India has made.
So it is only for 1 year?
5 years.
5 years.
I said,
okay.
yes, it is 5 years, and government of India certainly will compensate.
So how this compensation is going to be like?
Yeah, government would take into account the growth rate that has been worked out by the concerned state government. Let us take example of Telangana state. If Telangana state, taking into account the industrial growth and the service sector growth, as you know, Hyderabad is hub of IT, and other segments, agriculture growth worked out, let us say 10%. For 2017 and 18, the financial year, and it turns out to be like 8% only they could get, whatever, out of the revenue, out of which they have lost. To that extent, the central government will be compensating, let us say, Telangana government, in case they lose.
In case
no
they
stretch of
lose.
imagination, I am saying that they are going to lose.
Okay, so if they lose, central government is always ready to compensate them.
Absolutely.
But on that note, we must attend this call, Commissioner, and we have this Mr. Anil on phone line. So Anil, what is your question? Well, unfortunately, we have lost that connection. As and when that gets reestablished, we'll get back onto that. So let's continue that discussion. So as and when, suppose if the government feels that the particular state is losing because of implementing this GST, it is ready to compensate for the next 5 years.
Yes.
But as per your view, the government is not going to lose any revenue because of implementing this GST.
That's what the Honorable Chief, I'm sorry to interrupt you, that's what the Honorable Chief Minister announced in the press meet a few days back, that the Telangana government is going to gain around 3,000 crores per annum. That's what the statement.
Because of this GST implementation?
Yeah, absolutely. After GST implementation, they have worked out, and then they found out that they will additionally, rather they would gain by 3,000 crores.
So now there is we have heard in the news also of late that traders above this 20 lakh turnover must register under this GST before the 30th of this month.
Yes.
So I mean, why should they be doing it? I mean, how can they do, and what are the what are the technology or what are the services that you have placed in order so that they to ensure that they all get registered before this? And if they don't register, what will be their repercussions?
Yeah. In fact, after extensive consultations with all the state governments, government has come out with this limit of 20 lakhs turnover for the for the entire country, except for the states which were having special status under Article 370 of the Constitution, like northeastern states, and for them it's 10 lakhs. In fact, is the limit. And once you come under the purview of GST, you are expected to, and you should register under GST.
And where can they register?
Yeah. Now we have, I just mentioned that you will have to apply to this GST network, and we have in our office GST Bhavan Central Processing Cell, which will be facilitating you for registration, you will have to apply for registration if it is fresh.
Right.
I mean, you are just coming to the purview of tax, and then all that you need to do is that you know, you will PAN number, and of course you know that your company would have been registered under the, you know, Companies Act or partnership form, whatever.
So
Your details of certain details are you know, required, prerequisite, and once you file your registration online, in 3 days time you will get your registration. In case you don't get for any reason, it is deemed registration. So you can go ahead and you know, do your business. And to tell you one more important point is that if you have already been registered under service tax or central excise or VAT, you have a facility of what is known as migration from the existing whatever, you know, network to GSTN.
Right.
And that would be facilitated again by our officers, and we have done it. In fact, hand holding we have done, and you know, they have to apply. Once they apply, they would get provisional ID and then password, which they, you know, have, certain details, documents are required to be uploaded. Once you upload, then you will get ARN, and with this ARN you can go ahead and do your business, which out of 85 lakhs SS is estimated in the entire country. The recent estimates say 65 lakhs have already either migrated or got registered.
already 65 lakh, which
Yes.
means, I mean, another 20 lakhs are still remaining,
Yeah.
right? Anand? So, I mean, so they don't require to visit any office. They
Yes.
can sit at the comfort of their laptop or the computer connected to the internet,
Yes.
and they can do it online, all
Yes.
this. So that all has to be done before the 30th of this month. Suppose in case if they fail to do this, rest of this 20 lakh people before this due date, what would be the consequences for them?
Not really. 20 lakhs is the estimate. That the estimate is that probably they have more than 20 lakh turnover or 10 lakh turnover, depending on the state, you know, from which they come. And if they don't fall under that tax net below 20 lakhs, they are no need to register. The
No, I'm
government
not
is not going to question them.
My question is to you, Anand ji. This is see, now there are 20 lakhs remaining yet
Yeah.
to get registered. If this and 30th is the last date for them to get registered online, and if they fail by 30th to get registered, so what action does the government is going to initiate, or are they going to take any action, or are they going to give any kind of leeway? Because for the demonetization, what happened, they fixed a certain date. After that period of demonetization, even despite the intervention of the Supreme Court, government is stating that it is not going to extend that date any more further. So is there any kind of law or any kind of thing that is going to happen in this case of registration too?
No. In GST there is no such deadline, in the sense that if you know, any manufacturer or service provider comes into a tax net, meaning thereby 20 lakhs and above, within 30 days, he should get registered. What happens if he doesn't get registered? If it doesn't get registered, you know, he can't avail what is known as input tax credit. What is input tax credit? Whatever tax suffered inputs he has procured.
Right.
Like you take the example of you know, a shirt, which I keep talking about very more often than not. The buttons, the collar,
Right.
or the, you know, whatever textile, you know, all that has gone into. He can't avail credit which he can set off at the time of paying tax on that shirt. So he will be losing on that front. And again, he has to pay tax on the entire you know, whatever cost, including whatever tax component.
Okay.
So the business won't be profitable for him anymore, because who have already come under tax net, their product would be more competitive than the one who doesn't get registered.
Okay.
So that itself would be an disincentive for those manufacturers or service providers. So government expects that without we forcing them to do, they themselves voluntarily, willingly will come under whatever, tax net by way of registration, which is as a simple exercise which I just mentioned. You online at the comfort of your home, you file your return.
Right.
I'm so sorry. You file your application for registration, and within 3 days you are likely to know. I mean, you should be getting registration number, GSTN number. If you don't get GSTIN, if you don't get, then it is a deemed registration. You can go ahead and do business.
So by getting one registered under this GST, there as a person who is doing the business, they are going to reap more benefits.
Absolutely.
And so GST is beneficial for the sellers. And how is it going to benefit for the consumers? Tell us something on that.
Yeah, eventually GST, Mahatma Gandhi, the father of this nation, the famous quotation, I mean, he had said that the consumer is the king. Now, GST also eventually will benefit the consumer, as I just mentioned, when there is no tax on tax. And finally, what happens? The price of the product, will become more competitive, meaning thereby it would come down. Okay. Let us take example of a restaurant. Whenever I went to Chutneys and ate idli, dosha, vada.
Right.
Yeah. Pre-GST, I was paying around 14.5% VAT and around 5.66 service tax.
Okay.
And there are other hidden taxes which I mentioned about octroi, entry tax, blah blah blah.
Right.
Now, what happens if you go and eat any of these items which I mentioned in Chutneys or any other restaurant of your choice?
Right.
The tax rate has come down to 18%. Earlier it was 20.5%. Pre-GST, now it is 18%. Right away, you got 2.5% benefit. Similarly, the day the GST came into force, the automobile sector, the car manufacturers have announced rate cuts.
Okay.
The maximum I have seen benefit you get, Mercedes 2.5 lakhs, and even your two-wheelers and mobile manufacturers.
But these are the benefits that middle class man or maybe a high class person that you're talking about, this Benz cars and all these who are going to be using, and who would be benefited because of this GST. How this GST is going to benefit the common man? Can you tell us?
Absolutely. Let us take the example of cinegoers. Down south, you have largest number of movies produced. So what happens is the producer, when he produces a movie, he seeks the services of the actors, actresses, cameramen, writers and whatnot, and all these components of whatever the services he has sought or the goods he has procured. You will get input tax credit. Now that input tax credit he will pass on to the distributor.
Right.
And the distributor, when he sells, that movie exhibited in the theaters, he will pass on that credit component to the exhibitor.
Right.
Now exhibitor is expected to take that input credit which he otherwise not getting earlier, now he would be getting from 1st July,
right,
and accordingly revise the rates downwards.
Right.
As such, 100 rupees and above, if ticket is 100 rupees and above, it's 28%. If it is 100 rupees below, it is 18%.
Right.
You may ask me, sir, 28% would be quite high. As you know, before GST, there's something known as entertainment tax which was being imposed by state or the local bodies. Like, let us take the example of Mumbai.
Right.
Mumbai entertainment tax was as high as 80%.
Okay. What about Tamil Nadu? Tamil Nadu is a place, the way they were also having this strike after this, as soon as this GST was implemented. What is your opinion on that?
I just mentioned Tamil Nadu, I really don't know what is the rate at, that tentative tax they are collecting, but depending on the station, if it is a capital like Chennai, I am sure that they would have been collecting in the range of 30%, maybe more than that. Now what happens? Now 30% has become 28% in Chennai, as far as Chennai is concerned. Over and above, as I just mentioned, the huge amount of input tax credit which would be flown from the producer to the distributor to the exhibitor. He is expected to pass on the benefit to the consumer. In case he doesn't do, we have already enacted what is known as Anti-Profiteering Act, through which if we found that he has commensurate benefit has not been passed on to the consumer, they are likely to be deregistered, and consequences will follow.
And there are a lot of apprehensions before this GST has been implemented, Anandji. See, they were talking about this GST is not going to be as beneficial as it was viewed at. And indeed, this GST was something that has been the effort of the previous governments, but of course the current government has come up boldly and got the consensus and passed it and implemented it. So so how does this, after all this implementation of today is the 21st day after this GST has been implemented.
Yes.
You being as an additional commissioner, what are the problems that you're facing from the consumer? I mean, what is that impact? What is its impact on the consumers as well as these businessmen who come to you and get registered or maybe seeking your support?
Yeah, I don't deny that there have been some apprehensions and misgivings, and as though tax component has gone up, rate,
right,
and we have to record all our transactions, so cash transactions, and related issues.
Right.
Now, to tell you the fact, which our Honorable Finance Minister Arun Jaitley Saab and the Revenue Secretary Harsh Mugadia ji and our chairperson Ma'am Vanaja Sarna Ma'am, they all announced repeatedly. They have highlighted this very important fact that 81% of the total products, goods, I mean, and services, 81%, either the rate remains same or it has been brought down. Let us say remain same, I mean 18%.
Right.
Now this 18 also is not 18, as I just mentioned to you. If you take into account that input credit component, which eventually you will have to figure into your the final price, it become down to 15. Yeah. So what I am trying to tell you is that the goods and services of 81% either have already come down,
right,
or will come down if the black sheep amongst the trade and industry and whomsoever cutting edge don't pass on. Government will not be an onlooker, and as I have mentioned to you, Anti-Profiteering Act will take its will take its course.
Yeah.
And, law will take its course. That's what I mean.
Law is going is going to take its course and all. So definitely, yeah, if it is not being followed or properly being followed by the public, definitely law is going to take its course, and the guilty or the culprits or the people who are trying to evade the law will be caught and punished.